Hello everyone, it's Refresh, and I'm here to bring you a battle between two M19 sealed decks versus the Face the Hydra challenge deck from Theros. On the left here is a Boros deck, and on the right is a Selesnya deck. We are going to play first at normal difficulty with 3 heads, and we will be using the Harvester, which will let us draw and discard once per turn, and the Warrior, which will let us give 1 creature haste until end of turn each turn. So let's begin our first game. Draw to 7 each. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Boros has a Mountain, Inferno Hellion, Oresco Swiftclaw, Plains, Boggart Brute, and Viashino Pyromancer. I think that's an acceptable first hand. Selesnya has a Forest, Skyscanner, Plains, Take Vengeance, Gallant Cavalry, Goreclaw, Terror of Kalsisma, and Forest. I also think that is an acceptable hand, so we'll go ahead and begin like this. Turn 1, we'll play a Mountain, and we'll play a Forest, and then we'll pass the turn. We'll go to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is Distract the Hydra. Each player may sacrifice a creature. Each player who sacrificed a creature this way chooses a head and taps it. Each player who didn't sacrifice a creature loses 3 life. So each player is going to lose 3 life, but we'll also take 3 damage from the 3 Hydra heads and go all the way down to 14 each. Yikes. Alright, at the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Boros will draw a card. We'll draw a Boggart Brute, and Selesnya will draw a card. It is a Plains. We will discard a Skyscanner, which doesn't really have much impact in this game, and we will discard a Viashino Pyromancer, which doesn't quite do enough damage on its own. And then we will untap. We will draw. Boros draws a Mountain. Selesnya draws a Knightly Valor. We'll go ahead and play a Plains, and then we will cast nothing on this side, and then we will play a Plains, and then we will cast a Oresco Swiftclaw. Using our ability with the Warrior, we're going to give Oresco Swiftclaw, and we will send the hasty Oresco Swiftclaw in at one of these Hydras. The Hydra will die. When the Hydra head leaves the battlefield, each player gains 2 life. So we'll go ahead and give each player 2 life to go back up to 16. And then we'll see if there are any new Hydras. There are 2 cards, no new Hydras, and so that is the end of that. We will go to the Hydra's turn next. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is Swallow the Hero Hold. Each player exiles a creature he or she controls until the Hydra's next turn. When a head leaves the battlefield, return the exiled cards to the battlefield under their owner's control. So this means that the Oresco Swiftclaw has been arrested by the Hydra, and now we will take 2 damage from the Hydra to go down to 14 again. And at the end of the turn, we're going to use the Harvester to draw and discard. Boros will draw a Mountain and discard the Mountain. Selesnya will draw a Plains and discard the Plains. Now let's untap. Draw. Boros draws a Plains. Selesnya draws a Centaur Courser. We'll go ahead and play a Forest, and we will play a Mountain. We'll tap all 3. We will play a Boggart Brute here, and we'll tap all 3, and we will play the Centaur Courser here. We're going to go ahead and give the Boggart Brute haste, and we will go in on the attack, attacking a Hydra head. The Hydra head will die. Each player will gain 2 life to go back up to 16. And then, because a Hydra head left the battlefield, we'll get the Oresco Swiftclaw back. We will also mill 2 cards to see if there are any new heads. We did get 1 new head. It is a Ravenous Brute head, and that is the end of the turn. We'll go back to the Hydra. The Hydra will draw and play the topmost card, which is Grown from the Stump. It put exactly 2 cards named Hydra head onto the battlefield from the Hydra's graveyard. If you can't reveal, well, we can, since we killed 2. So we'll go ahead and do that. There's 1, there's 2. These 2 will re-enter the battlefield. And then we will take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 damage each to go down to 11. And then the Hydra's turn will end. We'll use a Harvester at the end of the turn to loot. Boros draws a Goblin Instigator, and Selesnya draws an island. We will discard Take Vengeance, and we will discard a Plains. Now let's untap. We'll draw. Boros draws a Dragon Horde. Selesnya draws a Leonin War Leader. We will go ahead and play the Plains, and we will play a Plains. I think the most reasonable thing to do is have Selesnya play the Leonin War Leader, and then we are going to give the Leonin War Leader haste. We will also attack 2 Hydra heads with the Boggart Brute and the Oresco Swiftclaw, and we will attack the final Hydra head with the Centaur Courser and Ravenous Brute head with the Leonin War Leader. When the Leonin War Leader attacks, we'll create 2 1/1 white cat creature tokens with lifelink, also attacking. Everybody will attack. We'll kill all 4 of these creatures, getting us 8 life apiece and a card. That'll take us up to 19. And each will draw a card. We will draw a Valiant Knight for Boros and a Remorseful Cleric for Selesnya. And then we're going to reveal 8 cards to see if there are any new heads. Alright, there are 2 new heads. They're both just regular Hydra heads. And then Boros will cast the Valiant Knight. And then we'll pass the turn to the Hydra. The Hydra will play its topmost card, which is Disorienting Glower. Players can't cast spells until the Hydra's next turn. The Hydra will then deal 2 damage to each player, taking us down to 17. And then we will use the Harvester. Boros will draw a Plains and will discard the Plains. Selesnya will draw a Plains and will discard the Plains. And then we will untap. Oh, we also gain 2 life from the lifelink cats for Selesnya, so they're actually up at 19. And then we will draw. Boros will draw a Take Vengeance. Selesnya will draw a Druid of the Cowl. We will play the Plains. And we're just going to attack with the 2 little guys that we have here to finish off the rest of these Hydra heads. 4 life apiece. That'll take Boros up to 21 and Selesnya up to 23. We'll reveal 4 to see if there are any new heads. There's 1 new head. We'll discard the rest of these. And then since we can't cast anything because of Disorienting Glower, we'll go ahead and move on to the Hydra's turn. The Hydra will play the topmost card, which is another Hydra head. We'll take 2 damage each to go down to 19 and 21 respectively. And then we will use the Harvester at the end of the turn. Boros will draw a Meteor Golem, and Selesnya will draw a Thornhide Wolves. We will discard the Druid of the Cowl here, and we will discard the Take Vengeance here. Now if we untap, and we will draw, Boros draws a Skyscanner, Selesnya draws a Oresco Swiftclaw, and we will attack again with just these 2. Attacking in 2 and killing the 2 Hydra heads. We'll gain 4 life apiece to go up to 23 for Boros, and we'll go up to 25 for Selesnya. We'll reveal 4 cards to see if there are any new Hydra heads. We have 1 new Hydra head. It is a Ravenous Brute head. On the second main phase, we'll cast some spells. We'll go ahead and play Goreclaw, the Terror of Calcisma. And on this side we will play a Dragon Sword, and then tap and play a Goblin Instigator. Goblin Instigator will get a little buddy, and then we will pass the turn to the Hydra. The Hydra will play its topmost card, which is Distract the Hydra. Each player may sacrifice a creature. Each player who sacrifices a creature this way chooses the head and taps it. Each player who didn't sacrifice a creature loses 3 life. At this point, we can totally afford to lose 3 life, so we will each lose 3 life to go down to 20 and 22, and then we'll take 2 damage from the Hydra to go down to 18 and 20. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Boros draws a Mountain. Selesnya draws a Forest. We will discard the Forest, and we will discard the Skyscanner. And then we are going to untap. We'll draw. Boros draws a Vyashino Pyromancer, and Selesnya draws a Cavalry Drillmaster. Let's go ahead and again use the smallest guys we have, and it'll be these 2 to attack and kill the Ravenous Broodhead. The Ravenous Broodhead goes down. Each player gains 2 life to go to 20 and 22 respectively. And then each player will draw a card. Boros will get a Mountain. Selesnya will get a Titanic Growth. We'll go ahead and play another Mountain, and then we will cast another Boggart Brute. Viashino Pyromancer. When Viashino Pyromancer enters the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to target player or planeswalker, but the other player isn't alive to take damage, so we will ignore that effect. And then Selesnya will cast the Thornhide Wolves for 3 mana, and then we'll cast Oresco's Swiftclaw. And then we will reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new Hydra heads. There are new Hydra heads. So the M19 sealed decks have won the day and defeated the Face the Hydra challenge deck. We'll go to game 2 and see how it goes from there. Alright, for game 2 we are in difficult mode. We will start with 4 Hydra heads, and otherwise let's just get going. Boros draws a Mountain, Tormenting Voice, Stone Quarry, Viashino Pyromancer, Mountain, Skyscanner, and Electrify. It's not exactly the most exciting hand, but I think it's something that we can start with. Selesnya draws a Gallant Cavalry, Vinemere, Pegasus Courser, Forest, Rocks Oracle, Goreclaw, and Luminous Bonds. There's only 1 land, and I don't want to keep a hand with just 1 land, especially with no 2-drops to play, so let's go ahead and ship this back. We'll draw 6. Selesnya draws a Cavalry Drillmaster, Plains, Vinemere, Skyscanner, Forest, and Take Vengeance. This is a much more acceptable hand. We'll go ahead and start with this. Boros will play a Mountain, Selesnya will play a Forest, and we will pass the turn. The Hydra draws Torn Between Heads, tap 2 heads. They don't untap during the Hydra's next untap step. Torn Between Heads deals 5 damage to each player. We'll tap these 2. We'll take 5 damage, but we'll take another 2 from these remaining heads, so we'll go down to 13 each. And then we will use the Harvester. Boros will draw a Trumpet Blast. Selesnya will draw a Thornhide Wolves. We'll discard the Tormenting Voice, and we will discard the Take Vengeance. And then we'll go into our turn. We'll untap. We will draw. Boros draws a Mountain. Selesnya draws a Plains. We'll play a Plains. We'll play a Mountain. We'll tap both mountains, and we will play the Viashino Pyromancer. When it enters the battlefield, it will deal 2 damage to a player. It will damage the Hydra, and we will redirect the damage to this Hydra head right there. And then Selesnya will play the Cavalry Drillmaster. It'll enter the battlefield and give itself +2/+0 and first strike until end of turn. We'll use the Warrior to give it haste. And we will attack and kill off this Hydra head here. We will gain 2 life apiece to go up to 15. We will reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new Hydra heads. There are new Hydra heads. And then we will pass the turn to the Hydra. The Hydra will not untap these this turn. We will draw and cast the topmost card, which is Destroy Target Head. If that head was a leap, the Hydra takes an extra turn after this one. We'll destroy this head. We'll gain 2 life apiece to go up to 17. We'll reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new heads. There are any new heads. We will take no damage from these tapped heads, and we will use the Harvester. Boros draws a Goblin Instigator. Selesnya draws a Druid of the Cowl. We'll discard Electrify, and we'll discard the Skyscanner, and then we'll untap. We'll draw. Boros draws a Siegebreaker Giant. Selesnya draws a Thornhide Wolves. Boros will play the Mountain. We'll tap everything and play a Skyscanner. When Skyscanner enters the battlefield, we'll draw a card. We got a card. We got an Angel of Dawn. Selesnya will play a Plains, and Selesnya will play Druid of the Cowl. We will give the Skyscanner haste, and then we'll attack with the Pyromancer and the Skyscanner to kill 1 head. Head down. We will gain 2 life apiece to go back up to 19. And we'll reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new heads. There is a Shrieking Titan head. At the beginning of the Hydra's end step, each player discards a card, and then when the Shrieking Titan head leaves the battlefield, each player will gain 4 life and draw a card. We'll go ahead and discard that, and then we will end the turn. We'll go to the Hydra's turn. The Hydra will cast its topmost card, which is Nectangle. If there are 5 or more heads on the battlefield, there are not. Otherwise, reveal the top card of the Hydra's library, and the Hydra casts that card. So I'm going to cast another card. Instead, it is a Hydra head. Oh, this is untapped at the beginning of the Hydra's turn. And then at the end of the Hydra's turn, which it is now, each player is going to discard a card. So we'll go ahead and discard the Trumpet Blast over here, and we will discard 1 Thornhide Wolves over here. And then we're going to take 1, 2, 3, 4 damage each to go down to 15. And then we're going to use the Harvester at the end of the turn. We'll draw a Inferno Hellion here. We'll discard the Inferno Hellion. And we'll draw a Gargoyle Sentinel here, and we'll discard the Gargoyle Sentinel. And then we're going to untap. We will draw. Boros draws a Mountain. Celestia draws a Titanic Growth. We'll play a Stone Quarry. And we'll play the Vine Mare. And then we will give the Vine Mare haste. We will attack with the Vine Mare, the Pyromancer, and the Sky Scanner into the Shrieking Titan head for 8 damage, killing it. When it leaves the battlefield, each player is going to gain 4 life to go up to 19. Each player is going to draw a card. Boros will draw a Goblin Motivator, and Celestia will draw a Plains. And then we're going to reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new Hydra heads. There are 2. We have a Ravenous Brute head and a Savage Vigor head that begin at the Hydra's end step. Reveal the top card of the Hydra's library and the Hydra cast that card. So they're going to get 2 cards per turn. We're going to go ahead and play the Goblin Motivator over here. We'll play the Plains over here, and we will pass the turn to the Hydra. The Hydra is going to cast its topmost card, which is Swallow the Hero Whole. Each player exiles a creature he or she controls until the Hydra's next turn. When head leaves the battlefield, return the exiled cards to the battlefield under the owner's control. So let's go ahead and exile a Sky Scanner, and we will exile the Cavalry Drillmaster over here. And then we are going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage each to go down to 13. And then we will use the Harvester. Boros draws a Plains. Celestia draws a Forest. We will discard the Titanic Growth, and we will discard the Goblin Instigator. And then we will untap. And we'll draw. Boros draws a Bogart Brute, and Celestia draws a Plains. We'll go ahead and play the Forest, and we will play the Plains. And then we are going to go on the attack. So, Savage Vigor head should have cast another one, which is the Ravenous Brute head. So we actually should have taken an additional 2 damage to go down to 11. But that doesn't change anything else. And then we will go on the attack again. We'll tap all these to play the Siegebreaker Giant. We will give the Siegebreaker Giant haste with the Warrior. We'll tap all these to cast the Thornhide Wolves. We'll give the Thornhide Wolves haste with the Goblin Motivator. We'll attack the Savage Vigor head with the Siegebreaker Giant and the Viashino Pyromancer. And we will attack the Ravenous Brute head with the Vine Mare, and the Druid of the Cowl will attack a regular Hydra head with the Thornhide Wolves. We'll kill 1 Ravenous Brute head, the Savage Vigor head, and a Hydra head. We will gain 8 life and draw 2 cards. So we'll go back up to 19. And we'll draw 2 cards apiece. Boros draws a Mountain and a Viashino Pyromancer. Celestia draws a Plains and a Forest. We will reveal 6 cards to see if there are any new heads. There are 2 new Hydra heads. And then we are tapped out, so we will pass the turn over to the Hydra. The Hydra is going to cast its topmost card, which is Disorienting Glower. Players can't cast spells until the Hydra's next turn. The Hydra will do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 damage each, taking us down to 14. And then we will use the Harvester. Boros draws a Angel of the Dawn. Celestia draws a Plains. We will discard a Plains, and we will discard the Viashino Pyromancer. We're going to untap everything. We'll draw. Boros draws a Herald of Faith. Celestia draws a Plains. We'll go ahead and play a Forest. We'll play another Mountain, and then we will attack the Ravenous Brute head with the Siegebreaker Giant. We will attack one of the Hydra heads with the Viashino Pyromancer and the Goblin Motivator. We will attack another Hydra head with the Thornhide Wolves, and a final Hydra head with a Vine Mare. That should kill every Hydra head on the battlefield. We will gain 8 life and draw 1 card each, so we'll go up to 22. And Boros will draw a Mountain. Celestia will draw a Plains. We'll go ahead and reveal 8 cards. Okay, we have a Snapping Fang head and a Ravenous Brute head. We'll discard the rest of these. And then we can't cast any more spells, and so we will pass the turn to the Hydra. These should not be tapped. The Hydra will cast its topmost card, which is Grown for the Stump. Put exactly 2 cards named Hydra Head onto the battlefield from the Hydra's graveyard. We can. And then the Hydra will deal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage each to take us back down to 15. And then at the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Boros will draw a Daybreak Chaplain. Celestial will draw a Gallant Cavalry. We'll discard the Plains. We'll discard the Daybreak Chaplain. Then we'll untap. We'll draw. Boros draws a Bogart Brood. Celestia draws a Goreclaw. We'll play the Plains. We'll play a Mountain. We will play 2 Bogart Broods. We'll play Goreclaw. And we'll give Goreclaw haste. So Goreclaw will attack, giving Vinemare +1/+1 and Thornhide Wolves +1/+1. Vinemare attacks the Snapping Fang Head along with the version of Pyromancer to finish it off. Thornhide Wolves attacks the Ravenous Brute Head with the Goblin Motivator to finish it off. Goreclaw attacks a Hydra Head to finish it off. And we will also attack another Hydra Head with the Siegebreaker Giant to finish it off. So everything should die. We will gain 10 life each and draw 2 cards. So we'll go up to 25 each. We'll draw 2 cards. Boros draws a Plains and a Plains. Celestia draws a Pyromancer's Cage and a Remorseful Clerk. Let's reveal 8 cards to see if there are any new heads. There is 1 new head. And we have nothing else to cast. We'll give the turn back to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is another Hydra Head. We're going to take 2 damage apiece to go down to 23 each. And then we'll use the Harvester. Boros draws a Valiant Knight. Celestia draws a Colossal Dreadmaw. We will discard the Pyromancer's Cage. And we will discard a Mountain. We'll untap. We'll draw. Boros draws another Plains. Celestia draws a Forest. We'll play a Forest. We'll play a Plains. We don't really even need much to finish this off, so we'll just attack with the 2 Bogart Brutes to finish off the 2 remaining Hydra Heads. We'll gain 4 life each to go up to 27. And then we'll reveal 4 cards to see if there are any new heads. There's 1 new head. Discard the rest of these. And then on the second main phase, we'll just cast some spells. We'll cast the Herald of Faith over here, and we'll cast the Colossal Dreadmaw and the Remorseful Cleric over here. And then we'll pass the turn to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast its topmost card, which is Swallow the Hero Hold. Each player exiles a creature he or she controls, and then when we kill a head, we'll get it back. We'll go ahead and exile the Viashino Pyromancer. Oh, we should have gotten these back as well. Forgot about that. So Skyscanner enables a card draw, and then we will exile the Cavalry Drill Master again. Actually, we'll exile this instead of the Pyromancer. And then we're going to take 2 damage apiece to go down to 25 each. And then we're going to loot at the end of the turn. Boros draws a Pegasus Courser, and Celestia draws a Forest. We'll discard a Plains, we'll discard a Plains, and we will untap. We'll draw. Boros draws a Mountain. Celestia draws a Luminous Bonds. We'll play a Plains. We'll play Plains. And then we will send in just the Siegebreaker Giant to finish off the Ravenous Brute Head. Ravenous Brute Head dies. We each gain 2 life to go back up to 27. And we'll each draw a card. Boros draws a Take Vengeance. Celestia draws a Plains. We will reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new heads. There are no new heads, and the M19 sealed decks win the day against the Face the Hydra challenge deck from Theros. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button for me. If you'd like to see more such videos, hit subscribe. I'll be back with a battle between these 2 sealed decks and the Battle of the Horde challenge deck from Born of the Gods next. Until then, thanks for watching. This was Refresh, and I will see you next time.